Hey guys, Manic Mercurian here, and in this video we are doing a chart reading, so that should be exciting. And let's just jump into it. So this chart reading is for Wednesday, September 16th, 1987 at 8:30 a.m. and this is in Sheridan, Wyoming. So this person, just for kind of the basics here, we've got Sun in Virgo in the 12th house, Moon in Cancer, conjunct the midheaven, in sort of in the ninth house, but also conjunct the midheaven, and we'll definitely talk about that more later. And then this person also has Libra rising, and they actually have Mercury conjunct Libra rising. So there's kind of a lot going on here, and I was kind of just looking at this chart and thinking about how to approach this. And I think I'm actually going to lay on some kind of heavier stuff first. And I don't think this person would so much mind that. I think that you are a person who is more able of, accessing those or accepting those kind of deeper or more intense subjects. I think you're a very open person, and you're understanding of those types of things. And so we're going to lay on some of the heavier stuff kind of first. And this everything I just said really applies to your 12th house. Everything, even you being open to these types of things. So even being open to astrology for that matter. Okay, so growing up, you're there's your chart has so many mixed energies. So like this might be a little bit contradictory, but growing up, I wouldn't go as far as to say as whether it was easy or hard, but I'm seeing that there's a large part of your personality that you felt like you couldn't express growing up. Like you almost weren't allowed to express it. Your entire ego, and as well as your kind of the more romantic or more sexual aspects of your personality, you felt like you kind of just weren't allowed to express at all. Like you couldn't be flirtatious, or even just you couldn't really be yourself at all. Like it just wasn't allowed. There wasn't any room for it, and it's a really challenging thing having this dynamic. And everything I'm talking about right here, it's your Sun and Venus and Mars in the 12th house Virgo. So so anything in the 12th house, it takes a long time to develop because it is repressed at a young age. And so you may have had parents or maybe teachers or people who kind of brought you up who expressed to you that you couldn't be those things, or you couldn't express those parts of yourself, or I don't know, maybe you had a lot of siblings, or maybe there was some kind of situation where there just wasn't any time or room for your own self-expression. Like you almost weren't allowed to even be a person growing up. That's how it kind of felt. And so it takes a lot of time for these parts of your personality to develop. With the Sun and Virgo in the 12th house, it's almost like you weren't allowed to be articulate or smart. And when I say smart, there's many different types of intelligences, but here we're talking about kind of the classic like book smart type of thing. Um, you may have almost felt like you weren't allowed to be academic, or it was frowned upon to be smart, or to be detail oriented, or analytical. And so it may have taken a lot of time for you. It may have taken till later in life, like maybe 18 or so, or later, years old. It may have taken until kind of early adulthood before you started realizing, like, well, I actually am, detail oriented, and I am analytical, and so these are very much late blooming parts of your personality. But there is a richness there, so it's not all bad. Having placements in the 12th house, it is much harder, especially earlier in life, but it also makes you extremely open minded. So you are extremely empathetic, not just with these 12th house placements, but also with your moon in Cancer. You this is a double edged sword because you just feel the emotions of everyone else, and you can read everyone so easily. But with the Sun in the 12th house, you are not so easily understood because you're complex. You had these parts of your personality that were kind of subdued or oppressed for so long that they become subtle, and it actually makes you more intuitive. And so people might have a hard time understanding you because those parts of your personality are more subtle, more complicated. They're not as visible right away. So all your Virgo energies, all the classic Virgo personality traits of being detail oriented and analytical and organized, being kind of grounded and earthy, being down to earth or pragmatic. All of these traits may not be visible for someone who is just meeting you. You might not seem like Virgo at all because all of this is kind of subdued. It's in the background. It's intuitive. Um, but again, the plus side is that you're very open to people. You're good at understanding things that are complex or weird. Like astrology, for instance. Like you'd be open to things that other people might find weird or too different or too complicated or just too out of the box for them. You're kind of able to understand. So you're not you're not scared of going into these kind of deeper areas or subjects or and that includes with other people. So you're sort of open to a wide array of people, and it's a double-edged sword because it might be hard for people to understand you or relate to you, but you find it very easy to understand everyone else. It's almost like you're an old soul, kind of like you just kind of know things. 12th house makes you kind of naive at a young age, especially with this being an immutable sign in Virgo. So at a young age, it might take you longer to really know yourself. It might take you a longer time to develop, but at the same time, it's almost like you're kind of wise. So things that other people might understand very easily, you may not find easy to understand, and things that you find easy to understand, other people may not find easy to understand. So it's almost like you're 12th house placements, they almost put you like in a different world or different realm. It almost makes you I don't know, there's just something different about you than that other people might not always understand. So yeah, and this applies not only to your ego, toward kind of the bulk of your personality and your identity and your self-expression, but all of this also applies to, as I touched on earlier, this applies to the romantic and sexual aspects of your personality as well, because you actually have Venus and Mars both in the 12th house in Virgo as well. And so it may take you extra time to have a relationship or to be stable in a relationship. And we can talk more about this now. So you also have Venus in fall in Virgo, and it's actually conjunct the South Node. So the South, and this is more heavy stuff, but we'll get into some of the lighter stuff in just a little bit here. But you have Venus. So just being honest, your Venus is in a very challenging position. Venus represents how we approach relationships, how we approach love, how we show affection, and it's how we sort of attract what we desire. And with Venus being at the last degree of Virgo in the 12th house, and it's also making an out of sign conjunction with your South Node, this is very challenging. It will take you a long time to be able to feel comfortable in a relationship, or to be comfortable maybe even receiving like attention, or to be flirtatious or that sort of thing, for like courtship and everything, or to be comfortable in a relationship, because, and this is a double-edged sword as well, so it's because you feel like love has to be earned. You feel like you have to work for it, which, I mean, it's really just a matter of perspective. I mean, it's not right or wrong necessarily, it's just a perspective. But you may feel, especially early in life, you may feel like you have to work very hard to earn love, or to be loved. And so it just takes time for you to feel secure in that area, and it's sort of a kind of challenging outlook, because it may take time for you to realize that you can be loved as you are. You don't have to constantly work for love. It can just be something that like happens to you, or hopefully that makes sense. Or you may be very self-critical or critical of yourself. This is common with Virgo placements, but in relationships you may not be super confident, like romantically or sexually. So yeah, it just takes time for you to gain confidence in those areas. But really, Venus being in Virgo, it can actually be very beautiful, even though it is more challenging. Having that attitude of like you have to work for love, it makes you almost ironically, it makes you good in a relationship, because you feel like love is, something you have to work for. So you may show your affection with, by doing things for someone else, like, like household chores, or maybe making food for them, or you kind of like these tasks, like you show your love in a very physical way, not only like through physical touch, but also through kind of, there's a word for this that I'm totally missing, but doing these kind of tasks so that your partner doesn't have to, or what have you. So there is this kind of beautiful, very humble side to it. So you're very humble in relationships, and that in itself is beautiful. So there's definitely a silver lining to this, but it is challenging. I'm not gonna lie, it is challenging having your Venus, Mars, and Sun in the 12th house in Virgo. Since we're talking about this, let's jump to the Mars, your Mars placement. So Mars in Virgo is actually relatively a strong placement because Mars is sort of how we assert ourselves and it's our ambitions. And Mars in Virgo is very productive. But remember, this is also in the 12th house, so it will take time to develop. It may take time for you to learn how to assert yourself with Sun and Mars in the 12th house. Um, let's see here. But yeah, especially as you get a little bit older and you kind of find yourself more and you open up to these parts of your personality, you will be definitely a hard worker, very productive with Mars in Virgo. Let's see what else here. And I mean, Mars in Virgo is nice because you feel more ambitious toward Virgo stuff, which is like all those little tasks, all the little day to day stuff. And so, really, that's a great place to have that kind of extra oomph for that extra energy or ambition because it makes you more productive. It makes you more willing and able to do all these kind of little mundane tasks that other people might find too boring or what have you. So that does make you a good worker, makes you productive. It's really great to have because even I think it's Henry Ford that said, no task is too daunting as long as you break it up into small parts. And he was actually Virgo rising. So you kind of have that attitude, which is really nice because if you're just really ambitious toward all these kind of small tasks, you can build upon that and achieve much bigger goals. So that's actually a really nice placement to have. Again, it's just subdued, especially at an early age, being in the 12th house. So even that in itself, you may have wanted to be productive or smart at a young age. And this is really, I'm laughing because it's really sad actually, but all of this would just be kind of like almost crushed in a way at a young age. So it just takes time to develop. However, once you do kind of develop these especially as you go through your 20s and then especially as you go through your Saturn return, age 28, 29, 30, after that, then these placements will actually be stronger than if you hadn't had them at all. They're there at all. It's just that you have to kind of grow into it. So after, once you get a little bit later into life, then you might realize like you're actually really strong in these areas because you've had to really go into these deep kind of darker these deep places in order to really find yourself in those areas. So once you kind of go through that growth and that evolution, you're actually that much more resilient. So it is a good payoff. It does definitely come in handy a little bit later in life. Okay, so that was a lot of heavy stuff, but let's see. Let's go a little bit general because that was really heavy and specific. So generally speaking, your Virgo Sun, Cancer Moon. I think I covered this with the Sun Moon combinations, but I subjectively love these placements because it makes you a very good storyteller because you have kind of the imagination and the emotion of the Cancer Moon, but then the Virgo Sun kind of makes you down to earth and it makes you, it keeps you grounded and it adds some analytical ability as well. And so, really, I could see these placements as being good for like writing, especially like lyric writing or writing like a story or a poem, something where you can use your imagination. I just feel like combining Virgo and Cancer in one chart is so great for storytelling or lyric writing, musical abilities, that type of thing. So that's really nice. It's also just nice because whenever you combine a sun and moon that are in different elements or that are in opposing elements, so like either fire and air, or in this case, earth and water, it makes for a very well-rounded personality because again, the earth makes you grounded and concrete and very practical, but then having that water in there with the Cancer Moon makes you emotional and intuitive. And so this means that you have great common sense. Again, it might be a little bit subdued earlier on in life because having Sun in 12th house, you don't really know yourself, you're not as self-aware, so you're kind of just open to anything and everything, which gets you into all these adventures and misadventures. And so you will learn a lot from all that, but it takes time. But especially as you get a little bit older, I see you as having really, really good common sense. You just have this kind of pragmatic, like you can kind of just look at things right away and just already know all about it, already know your stance on it because your moon in Cancer is very intuitive. It feels its way through situations, and then your Sun in Virgo is also intuitive, but it's more of an analytical way. So you're constantly kind of thinking and putting two and two together and observing your surroundings in a more physical way. So combining your sun and Virgo with moon and Cancer makes you very pragmatic, practical, and it gives you great common sense and intuition. Oh, let me turn off my water cooler so you don't have to hear that. Okay, so sorry for that. Okay, but then one thing that I actually noticed immediately when I first pulled up your chart was you have moon. The moon is so prominent in your chart. The moon is in domicile in Cancer, so it's very strong there. So you'll naturally you'll know very much what you're feeling. And this is where it gets a little bit contradictory because even though you may feel lost at a young age, you may feel like this, part of your personality is not allowed, or all this is kind of subdued or oppressed. Your moon in Cancer very much knows exactly what it feels at any given time. So deep down emotionally, you really do know exactly how you feel about things, and you know your limits. Um, and this is actually very visible to other people. Your moon is in an extremely prominent place. It's at the very top of your chart, conjunct the midheaven in Cancer, where it's in domicile. I see your mother being very important in your life, especially at a young age. And I think your mother was very supportive. I think she was a very important part of your life. And that's sort of what translates into you, because in astrology, the mother is it's related to our own emotions and our core, the core of our personality. And so I think your mother's influence is sort of what results in you knowing how you feel so strongly at any given time, and being just so aware of that, if that makes sense. And having the moon in such a prominent place, it means that people can actually connect to you very easily. But this is where it gets so contradictory, because your sun in 12th house Virgo, people they don't see that part of your personality. They don't understand it. I mean, they might assume you are something that you're not. They might misunderstand you. But your moon at the top of your chart in Cancer is very easy to understand and very visible. And so hopefully you understand what I'm saying, but it's almost like part of your personality people very much understand and gravitate toward, and are they are they are understanding of, and they feel like it's approachable. But then another part of your personality is more misunderstood. So with the moon being in such a prominent place, I think it's, if people can kind of get past that outer layer. So you might be maybe unapproachable on an outer layer, but once you just kind of let that initial wall down, you're actually very easy to connect with and to understand for people. So hopefully you kind of understand what I'm saying. Hopefully that makes sense to you. Let's see here. But I do think this would also be really good in public or at work. I mean, it would almost be good for like owning a business or doing some customer service type of role, because moon in Cancer by the midheaven, it makes you so approachable and so familiar to people. People just feel comfortable around you. So that is it's almost like a gift, really. Like, it is a really precious thing to have, and you can use it in a variety of ways. Let's see here. It can also be hard though, because you almost wear your emotions on your sleeve to some extent. Like, you're very sensitive and very emotional for sure. So I mean, I don't know. It can be difficult being that open to people. It can be good. It can be a strength, but it can also be draining. It can be challenging. So it's kind of a mixed bag there. But having your moon so at the top of your chart, it makes you so open to people, which is pretty cool. Okay, and then so unlike most Virgos, usually we have our Sun and our Mercury in the same sign. But unlike most Virgos, you don't have Mercury in Virgo. You have Mercury in Libra, and it's actually conjunct the ascendant. So you may, let's see here. It's almost like you don't think in the way a Virgo normally would. You may be a little bit less decisive than the average Virgo, perhaps. So Mercury in Libra is more social, and this too would aid in your communicative abilities. It would help people understand you, because having Mercury conjunct ascendant, it would mean that you are expressive. You are thinking a lot. You're let's see. I'm not sure. I almost want to say Mercury conjunct the ascendant would make you slim, but then Moon in Cancer and being so strong would usually make you more like Moon is very round. Cancer is more like roundish, or Let's see here. But then Mercury would make you more slim, being conjunct the ascendant. So I'm not sure how those kind of combine. But also the Virgo energy would keep you slim as well. But anyway, that's beside the point. So Mercury conjunct ascendant, yeah. So you are very articulate and expressive. I don't know. You're not a fiery person. You don't have a whole lot of planets in fire. But I do think you very much want to connect to people and express yourself. You're thinking a lot and wanting to, I don't know, express your ideas to people. So I see you as almost kind of a shy person or kind of introverted. But when you do connect with people, I think you do connect to people very easily, and or people, maybe people connect to you easily. And then from there, you do want to be very expressive, or you like to maybe chat or share ideas, or I don't know, you think a lot and you like to share those thoughts, but maybe only with people that are close to you. I think that's what it is. So you might have very few friends or family members that you confide in, but with those selected people, you are very expressive, if that makes sense. So hopefully that makes sense. Let's see what else. Mercury can also make people tan, if that makes sense. So, so Mercury conjunct your ascendant in the first house can make you kind of more tan or like dark haired, dark complected. I'm not sure why. I think it's because Mercury's so close to the sun, it gets like burnt out by the sun. I'm not totally sure. You also have Pluto in first house Scorpio. So Pluto also is very strong being in domicile in Scorpio. You're part of the Scorpio Pluto generation. So, everyone born from, I think it's mid 80s to mid 90s, like 1984 to 1995, I believe. It's sort of an intense generation with Pluto being in Scorpio there. So, um, I don't know, we're born just kind of feeling like everything is collapsing and deteriorating around us. And we're very attuned to the decay of things. But that decay or that detriment can also bring you to life. It can provoke you to become more alert and aware and to evolve more quickly. And so, Pluto and Scorpio, you have that. That's a very vague thing that applies to the entire generation. However, it's very personal to you because you have Pluto. You don't just have Pluto and Scorpio, you have it in the first house. And so it very much colors your entire personality, even your appearance. And it would make you kind of have an intense feel to you, or you may be you may have a provocative vibe about you, or um, you may have a magnetism about you. And really combining a lot of what I've covered in your chart already, I do see you as having, I don't know, I like a magnetism, or you would seem different or quirky. I do see you as a very quirky person. I think people would just see you as being different, and people might not really know how to act with you. I think, yeah, you do seem very different and unique. And Pluto always adds that like intensity, but it's a good intensity. It makes people curious, and it makes some people kind of despise you because they might be like jealous, or it brings out strong reactions from people. But people might also they find you interesting because it's like you seem complex. They don't really understand you. So people, but again, there's so much contradictory stuff. So people don't understand you, but once they, I don't know, it's like there's that initial wall, and then once they can get through that, then they really click with you, and they do form some kind of connection with you. I don't know. Hopefully that makes sense. I feel like I'm contradicting myself so much. Okay, what else? So you have South Node at 2 degrees Libra, and then North Node at 2 degrees Aries. So this kind of goes along with a lot of what I've said already. So as a child, I definitely see you as being more of an introverted child, a more disciplined child, um, especially with IC and Capricorn as well. So I think you had kind of a rough childhood. I think you had a difficult childhood. You may have been a very shy kid, more withdrawn, more introverted, more observant, very observant of people. And I see you as being an intelligent child as well. So you did have some rough circumstances, but you were very observant, and you may have enjoyed like reading, writing, coloring. I don't know, sort of quiet activities that you do with your hands, if that makes sense, and observing people. And it may be more difficult or unnatural for you to be more expressive and dominant and domineering. But since you do have descendant in Aries and North Node in Aries as well, and so I think that's sort of the challenge that you're given in this life is to sort of your first challenge is just to integrate and to start expressing those more Virgo sides of your personality, your ego, your romantic and sexual parts of your personality. Your first challenge is just to kind of find yourself in those capacities and to become self-aware. Once you do that, I think then the challenge is to become more expressive, more slightly domineering or outgoing. You could almost fulfill a little bit of a leadership role. I think I do see that with Northern Aries for sure, and Descendant there as well to some extent. So let's see. You also attract people that are like that. With Ascendant in Libra, you prefer for other people to take the lead. You're very go with the flow, easygoing, and especially romantically or sexually, you would rather be approached by someone else. I think that also fits with Venus and Mars in 12th house Virgo. You would prefer someone else approaches you first, and so you're sort of drawn to fiery personalities. You also sort of lack fire in the chart. You have no personal planets in fire whatsoever, just some outer planets. And so, yeah, I do see you very much attracted to fire signs. So maybe people with sun and fire signs, that would be Aries, Leo, or Sagittarius. Especially Aries, though. There's something special about Aries in particular. Again, also Leo and Sagittarius to some extent. So you're attracted to fire signs not only because it's very different than what you are. It's very kind of, I don't know, it's like an opposites attract thing. You prefer someone else to initiate, and they would be more than happy to initiate with you first and um, to seek you out. I think especially an Aries person, people with Aries placements, they would be drawn to you because they would see you as a challenge. They'd see this kind of complex, kind of introvert or withdrawn person, and they might be curious. They might be like, okay, what is this person about? I wanna meet them. I want to talk to them. Let's kind of see what's going on here. And that would be very interesting and fun for you. It might be very different. I think you wouldn't be able to appreciate this maybe until a little bit later in life because, again, first you're just trying to figure out yourself. And before you do that, you wouldn't so much appreciate an opposites attract kind of dynamic. You would want people who are more similar to yourself because you're still finding yourself. Once you get into maybe your late 20s or going into your 30s, then you might be more open toward these more fiery, expressive personality types. Again, especially Aries. But yeah, once that happens, I do see that working really well. They would be interested in you, and then you would enjoy going with the flow, letting them lead. Be careful with this, though. Of course, like if you're letting someone else lead, that should go without saying that you have to, of course, find someone you trust. Use your Virgo and your Cancer analytical and intuitive abilities to, find people that you can trust in life. But I think once you kind of become more whole in yourself, I'm not even thinking about how old you are right now. So I'm just saying, once you get to like maybe 30s, which I believe you are now, judging by your birth year, but you might even be 40. No, you're early 30s. Anyway, that's beside the point. So I guess at the time that you are now, you're sort of becoming more whole in yourself, as we typically do once we enter our 30s. And then from there, you will be more open to these like fiery, expressive personalities. And there's something very karmic there for you. I think you might meet people, or maybe it might just be one really important romantic relationship in your life. It could also just be multiple people that you meet that are very expressive and outgoing and fiery, who actually will aid your growth and development because you have Descendant and North Node there. You also have Jupiter in Aries as well. So let's see here. So yeah, that's the direction that you're going. You lack fire, but it's something that you can sort of learn from and harness to some extent as you mature, especially as you get later into life. Hopefully that makes sense. That was pretty rambly. But another thing that I've noticed is that you have, let me use my mouse. You have so many planets at the end of signs. So you've got Venus at the last degree of Virgo, 29 degrees of Virgo. You have Jupiter at the second to last degree of Aries. What else? I know there's another one. Is that it? I thought there was another one. Oh, you have Lilith at 29 degrees Cancer, so the very last degree of Cancer. Your chart seems, I don't know, there's an intensity to this. I mean, you yourself seem very easygoing and relaxed and go with the flow, very observant. But there's something intense about your life, especially early on. But this life as a whole, it seems very karmic. It's almost like, I don't know if you believe in reincarnation, but to me, this almost seems like the last life of a cycle of lives. And so you're sort of bringing in a lot of different themes that are sort of melting in from other lifetimes. There's this whole mix of themes that you're experiencing in this lifetime, and it's concluding a series of lives that you've had. That's how I would see it with all these planets at the end of signs. Let's see what else here. Also, with so much in the 12th house, it just shows this kind of intensity that you're probably a very kind, giving person. I think you could be taken advantage of, especially early in life, because you are kind and sort of innocent, maybe naive. You see the good in people. You're very empathetic. So, I mean, that is all awesome. That's really cool that you can be a nice person. But again, I think you have to have those boundaries so you don't get taken advantage of, because not everyone in this world is so giving and nice as you are. And that's I'm sure you've probably learned that already. I think you've probably grown a lot in those areas. Okay, and then you do have Jupiter in seventh house Aries, so that does kind of bring some good fortune to your relationships, being in the seventh house, which is definitely needed since you have Venus and Mars in 12th house, which are more challenging. So I think especially early in life, if you haven't fully developed or kind of grown, I think you would have some very dysfunctional relationships. I almost want to say abusive relationships, and I feel bad. I don't know. I don't, I don't know. I hope that's not the case, but I don't know. I just see those areas of life being really troubling at a young age, but I see it as being extra promising and extra productive for your soul growth, and very happy later in life. So later in life, you can get these less challenging relationships, but it only will begin to happen once you are more whole in yourself. So I see you, I don't know, I see you changing a lot through your lifetime. Like, you may have very many different phases growing up, because you have all these different parts of your personality. But really, as you approach 30 and past 30, I think by then you'll have become much more complete and whole in yourself. And so you'll actually be able to start attracting some really positive, really beautiful relationships in your life that will really aid your soul growth. And so there's nothing in astrology is purely bad or good. You do have a lot of placements that are more challenging at first, but they benefit you more so later in life. There's something that you grow into. Really, your whole personality is like that, but also a lot of aspects of your life as well. And so I think things will generally get easier for you. I think you've probably gone through some really challenging times, but things will continue to get easier as you mature and grow and kind of just figure things out. Things will just kind of naturally be easier for you as you get a little bit older. Okay, and then you have Saturn. Speaking of, Saturn return, which happens around age 30, you have Saturn in third house Sagittarius. And so, let's see here. And so, okay, so you may initially be reluctant or hesitant toward asking like the bigger questions. This is sort of contradicted by your sun in 12th house. So, okay, so I really think before age 30, you might be more closed off maybe about learning in general, because Virgo and Sagittarius sort of rule learning, higher learning. And so I think, especially as you pass 30, you might realize like, whoa, I'm actually pretty smart. And like maybe, those aspects of yourself were pushed down for a long time. But especially as you pass 30, you might really open yourself to asking bigger questions. And maybe, I don't know, I could almost see you like going to university late in life, or getting some kind of education a little bit later in life, like maybe even around 30 or after 30. Because you might realize like, yeah, you actually are curious and academic and detail oriented and organized, you do want to ask the bigger questions. Saturn and Sagittarius, you might initially be reluctant to like travel far or ask bigger questions, but yeah, after you turn age 30, you might be more open to traveling or having new experiences, be more open to learning more. Hopefully that makes sense. And so I was saying that your mom was so present in your life. I see your dad as being somewhat present too, but it's different. I don't know. I think he was there, but he was also elsewhere a lot at the same time, if that makes sense, or at different times. Because Saturn is direct, so there's definitely that sort of authoritarian or fatherly presence in your life. But at the same time, the Saturn, it's in the third house, so it's obscured from view. It's at the bottom of your chart. So I don't know. You may have had a lot of structure and discipline in your social connections. I don't know if that makes any sense. Um, Also, with Saturn, Uranus, and Neptune in the third house, you may attract to yourself some very weird friends. Also, with the 12th house placement. So, yeah, you'd be open to some very different and eclectic, different friends. So, again, I see you as being kind of introverted, but when you do connect with people, they may be from completely different walks of life, like different ages or socioeconomic backgrounds. Um, just these completely different types of people that you connect with somehow. So I do see that as a theme as well. Okay, and I feel like I've covered a lot of your chart. Let me just make sure there's nothing else I want to cover here. Oh, midheaven and Cancer suggests to me that so a lot of astrologers would be like, you're supposed to be a homemaker because midheaven is like your career and Cancer rules the home, so you should be a homemaker. There's also a lot of other things that this could be as well. So you could be something with like building homes or interior design, or maybe doing some kind of job where you go into other people's homes to do it. So really, that could be a lot of things, and especially now with the world the way it is now, you could work from home. There's really a lot of jobs that you could do either in your home or other people's homes, especially these days. I also see though, Cancer has very good managerial skills as well, and people skills. It's very personable. So I could also see you excelling at being, sort of a manager type of role, being a manager of like a store or business, even being a business owner maybe, or doing a customer service job. So because you're again, you have that kind of gentle charisma to you. Like you seem very kind, um, and I don't know, people feel relaxed around you. They feel safe around you, and so you would excel with like customer service or hospitality type of roles. So I know that's a lot of different things I said, like hospitality, managerial skills, or working from home or other people's homes. But if you could kind of combine all of those in one thing, that would be something you could really excel at. You do have other strengths as well. You have lots of strengths. So you're also intuitive and imaginative, you're creative, but also detail oriented. So yeah, if you could find a job that somehow ravels all of those into one occupation, that would be kind of perfect. Um, Hopefully, this makes sense to you. I hope after this you kind of just email me back and just let me know what resonates or what doesn't. I'd be really interested in hearing it. Let's see, but I think I covered pretty much everything. Um, I will say just briefly, I'll touch on your Libra Ascendant. So you're very diplomatic, giving, go with the flow. I know I kind of touched on these already, but yeah, and you may avoid confrontation, especially early in life with Mars in the 12th house. So yeah, I don't see you as a confrontative person. I see you as very, very nice, easygoing. It just takes time for you to learn to be more assertive and to be more like assertive over your own needs and desires. I think the moon in Cancer will help this though, and your mother is very important to you. I think all through life, but having being so sure of yourself with your emotions is really crucial here. So you already know what you feel. So if you just follow that and defend that and assert that, then that will kind of help. I think that's almost a point that you can start from to to grow the rest of your personality, if that makes sense. Because your emotional core is actually very developed from a very young age. There's a lot of your personality that takes longer to kind of develop, but that aspect of you has always been very strong. And so, yeah, you can kind of use that as like a backboard. I don't know what I'm saying. You can use that as a starting point to go off of, so, to be more assertive because Cancer knows it knows what it knows. It knows what it feels. Cancer walks into a situation and knows exactly what's going on, having your moon in there, it's very strong. So I guess yeah, that'll be a good place to leave off. I guess so. You do have that kind of intuition where, I mean, yeah, exactly that. You can just walk into a room and you feel exactly what's going on around you. You can just feel the attitudes and the vibes. You can like it's almost like you can walk into a room and you're like, I just feel like something just happened here before I walked in, or you can see different people and almost see through them. You have that, especially a little bit later in life. You have that old soul wisdom about you. So definitely, start from there, and then you can apply that toward these other aspects of your personality that take more time to develop and that are more challenging, if that makes sense. I mean, I think you've had such strong emotions in your life. I think you came here. Well, I don't just think. I almost know that you came here to learn emotion in this life, because this life for you is very emotional and very intense, but it makes you a very strong and wise person. Hopefully that makes sense. Again, let me know what resonated and what didn't. But I really appreciate you asking for this reading. And if anyone else wants a reading, definitely leave a comment, or you can email me at manic.mercurian@gmail.com. I just need your birth date, time, and place. And then from there, I am accepting donations if you are so generous to donate, or if you feel like this is of value to you. Otherwise, I can do them for free as well. But yeah, thanks for watching, and I'll see you later.